last year, they promised us, they told us that inflation is transitory.
I really doubt that we're going to see an inflationary cycle.
Most economic analysts believe that it will have a temporary or transitory impact.
The faster than expected increase in some of those prices is actually a good sign.
The overwhelming consensus is going to pop up a little bit and then go back down. No one's talking about this great,
This is something that will settle down.
Transitory.
And the data shows that most of the price increases we've seen were expected and are expected to be temporary. There's nobody suggesting there's unchecked inflation on the way. It's highly unlikely that's going to be long-term inflation that's going to get out of hand. I don't know anybody who's worried about inflation.
Over the last couple of months, we actually saw it trended downward.
President Biden's chief of staff, Ron Klain, enthusiastically retweeted an economist who had said in part, most of the economic problems we're facing, inflation, supply chains, etc., are high-class problems.
What is the Granholm plan to increase oil production in America?
Oh my God. That is hilarious.
Yeah, so that is a montage of the Biden administration either flat out denying that inflation is a thing or laughing at journalists asking legitimate questions like, when are we going to produce more oil in America to help alleviate gas prices, which is a part of the energy inflation that we are seeing.
There isn't a tyrant alive or dead who has any love or respect for individual rights. So when Americans are confused as to why their own government would ever try to harm them, they either don't understand the nature of evil or they don't grasp how priceless the Bill of Rights actually are. They are the bane of the globalist tyrants who seek to control all of humanity. We could trace this conspiracy of tyrants all the way back to the 18th century, but we'll begin with the year that gave birth to the Federal Reserve Bank and Big Pharma. In 1910, the Carnegie Foundation published the Flexner Report, which directly led to the shutting down of natural traditional medicine and gave way for the Rockefellers to patent and monopolize the medicine industry. That same year, Rothschild banking dynasty's Paul Warburg, along with high-ranking members of U.S. banking and government, met in secret to hatch a plan that would financially rob every single American citizen for generations to come. Fractional reserve banking was considered a scam for centuries. This changed in 1913 with the Federal Reserve banking system. Fractional reserve banking became the norm, regulated by the Fed. The Federal Reserve was also given the task of managing the U.S. debt, otherwise known as inflation, the hidden tax where the Fed gets to bail out members of their criminal cabal while everyone else suffers. Meanwhile, their families created their own interest-free banks, utilizing what's known as a whole life insurance policy and family trusts, keeping their own wealth safely out of the Federal Reserve System, a banking system that gave this cabal unlimited funds to wage war against all of humanity. In 1921, after years of meeting in secret, the Round Table Movement, a group that sought to reunify America with the Crown, and the Harvard Business School, merged factions to become the Council on Foreign Relations, a think tank allowing bankers and industrialists the opportunity to engineer government policy and discreetly undermine American democracy. In 1942, the OSS was formed by the cabal as an intelligence agency to fight the war. OSS member Allen Dulles went on to help create the CIA in 1947, who immediately began seizing control of the worldwide illicit drug market, starting with the heroin trade in Sicily. The CIA's reputation speaks for itself. They are the world's biggest drug cartel, overthrower of nations, and purveyors of propaganda and MK-Ultra. The globalist cabal has these intelligence groups in all of their nations, with no oversight, using them as a secret army to carry out their agenda. In 1944, the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund were created under the guise of fostering global growth, followed by the United Nations in 1945. What they actually did was work together to violently seize control of entire nations. The World Bank trained people known as economic hitmen to make a simple offer to world leaders on their behalf, either accept a massive loan designed to bankrupt their nation or be killed. And many were. The game is simple. Conquer by debt. The Federal Reserve banking system does it to every individual, and the World Bank and IMF do it to every nation. Once indebted to these crooked institutions, they lose control over their own destiny. The only difference between the mafia and this globalist cabal is scale. Starting in 1951, Henry Kissinger founded and directed the Harvard International Seminar. Funded by Kissinger through grants from private foundations known to be fronts for the CIA, the Harvard International Seminar was yet another group of globalist leaders coming together to discuss the future of a one-world government. The first documented meeting of the infamous Bilderberg Group was in 1954, but it would take the public 50 years to become aware of them. In 1955, the Bilderberg Group privately discussed plans for the European Union and the Euro, 38 years before their creation, slowly making their way into a one-world government controlled by their own interests.
The very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society, and we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings.
After they assassinated JFK, the agenda went into overdrive. Destructive leftist programs under the guise of welfare were deployed, making more and more people dependent upon big government. In 1971, the UN votes to admit Communist China and expel Taiwan, lighting a spark that leads to World War. UN Ambassador George H.W. Bush accompanies Henry Kissinger to open up business with the CCP. That same year, a young Klaus Schwab, son of a Nazi industrialist and protege of Henry Kissinger, formed the World Economic Forum, replacing and expanding Kissinger's International Seminar. The World Economic Forum is made up of 1,000 corporate entities, represented by a consensus of 100, the same exact entities that make up the Bilderberg Group, because they are one and the same. As the World Economic Forum, this group of power-hungry parasites goes public and gradually begins to normalize their agenda for world domination. In 1974, Kissinger drafts National Security Study Memorandum 200, wherein he calls for worldwide depopulation. And a year later, it becomes official U.S. policy. During the 1980s, the CIA sold cocaine to Los Angeles street gangs to fund an illegal war, while Big Pharma killed tens of thousands of Americans with AZT and lies. In the 90s, they began spinning the outrageous lie that the loyal, patriotic American is a domestic terrorist, while drafting more globalist policies such as NAFTA. In 1992, Klaus Schwab established the Global Leaders for Tomorrow School, later re-established as the Young Global Leaders. Attendees include all the major players of the COVID-19 hoax, the lockdowns, and the mandatory vaccines. In 1992, Bill Gates was the head of a computer software company. He attended Klaus Schwab's Globalist Leader Schools in 1993, and in 1994, he begins his life in scientific research and global health with the formation of the William H. Gates Foundation, which later became the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Gates's so-called philanthropic efforts revolved around human depopulation, genetically modified foods, and experimental vaccines. In 1997, Jeff Bezos's Amazon.com was the world's biggest bookstore. In 1998, Bezos attended Schwab's Global Leaders School. By the end of that same year, Amazon begins selling a wide variety of other products and expands sales outside of the U.S. After they felled the World Trade Center, their propaganda story of Saudi hijackers with box cutters was used as the catalyst for destabilizing nations, creating armies of angry migrants, and stealing away more American liberties in the name of security.
You will and you are failing now. Your New World Order will fall. Humanity will defeat you. The answer to 1984 is 1776.
Thanks to a small group of alternative journalists, people all over the world began waking up to the reality that an international cabal of powerful interests are conspiring to destroy national sovereignty, the Bill of Rights, and anything else standing in the way of a one-world government. We are now witnessing their plans coming into fruition, the Great Reset, and Build Back Better. But before they can build back better, they must destroy. They must destroy civilization to the point that we collectively accept them and their tyrannical plans for global corporate governance as our only solution. They haven't won yet, but they are well on their way to victory unless humanity stands against them. This is Greg Reese.
I think we should be joyful and grateful that we can meet again here in person. It's so important because confidence can only be built by personal contact. But let's also be clear. The future is not just happening. The future is built by us, by a powerful community as you here in this room. We have the means to improve the state of the world. But two conditions are necessary. The first one is that we act all as stakeholders of larger communities, that we serve not our only self-interests, but we serve the community. That's what we call stakeholder responsibility. And second, that we collaborate.
Now, what do you need in order to hack a human being? You need two things. You need a lot of computing power, and you need a lot of data, especially biometric data. But control of data might enable human elites to do something even more radical than just build digital dictatorships. By hacking organisms, elites may gain the power to re-engineer the future of life itself. Because once you can hack something, you can usually also engineer it.
Well, and I think that the dangerous, edges here are that he's trying to undermine the media, trying to make up his own facts, and it could be that while unemployment and the economy worsens, he could have undermined the messaging so much that he can actually control exactly what people think, and that is our job.
That is your job.
Today, we have the technology to hack human beings on a massive scale. Yeah, everything is being digitalized, everything is being monitored. In this time of crisis, you have to follow science. It's often said that you should never allow a good crisis to go to waste.
You never want a serious crisis to go to waste. And what I mean by that, it's an opportunity to do things that you think you could not do before.
Never waste a good crisis.
Because a crisis is an opportunity.
It's an opportunity to do things that you think you could not do before.
You should never allow a good crisis to go to waste.
A good two-way communication system, direct communication system between brains and computers, this is kind of the watershed moment. Once you have a good two-way, nobody has any idea what happens after that. If you have a good two-way communication system directly between brains and computers, it also means you can connect several brains together to create an inter-brain net because it's the same system, the same communication system. And nobody has any idea what this means for things like identity. Who am I when I can access directly the brain of another person? We are probably one of the last generations of Homo sapiens, because in the coming generations, we will learn how to engineer bodies, and brains and minds. Now, how exactly will the future masters of the planet look like? This will be decided by the people who own the data. Now, why is data so important? It's important because we've reached the point when we can hack not just computers, we can hack human beings and other organisms. Science is not really, at least this is my view as a historian, science is not really about truth, it's about power. I think maybe in a couple of decades when people look back, the thing they will remember from the COVID crisis is this is the moment when everything went digital. And if this was the moment when everything became monitored, that we agreed to be surveyed all the time, not just in authoritarian regimes, but even in democracies. And maybe most importantly at all, this was the moment when surveillance started going under the skin. Because really we haven't seen anything yet. Today, we have the technology to hack human beings on a massive scale. Everything is being digitalized, everything is being monitored. In this time of crisis, you have to follow science. It's often said that you should never allow a good crisis to go to waste.
You never want a serious crisis to go to waste. And what I mean by that, it's an opportunity to do things that you think you could not do before.
Never waste a good crisis.
Because a crisis is an opportunity.
It's an opportunity to do things that you think you could not do before.
You should never allow a good crisis to go to waste.
To also do good reforms that in normal times people will never agree to, but in a crisis you see we have no chance, so let's do it.
Vaccine won't help us go
the
to
vaccine
the test, of course.
Will help us, of course. It will make things more manageable. Surveillance, people could look back in 100 years and identify the coronavirus epidemic as the moment when a new regime of surveillance took over, especially surveillance under the skin, which I think is maybe the most important development of the 21st century, is this ability to hack human beings, to go under the skin, collect biometric data, analyze it, and understand people better than they understand themselves. This, I believe, is maybe the most important event of the 21st century. By hacking organisms, elites may gain the power to re-engineer the future of life itself. Because once you can hack something, you can usually also engineer it.
Natural selection is replaced by intelligent design. The era of inorganic life is now beginning.
In the coming decades, AI and biotechnology will give us godlike abilities to re-engineer life and even to create completely new life forms. We are about to enter a new era of inorganic life shaped by intelligent design. Our intelligent design.
Appreciate that. Welcome back to the Hype.
Breakthrough Media.